Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Elisa Ruffin with Leading Educators, and you are on the Grade 11 ELA lesson video series. We are on week 4, lesson 15 of our time together, and I hope that you are ready for a new week, a new text, and a new set of activities. Today, we'll be starting the fictional short story called Everything Stuck to Him. It is a narrative written by author Raymond Carter about two teenage newlyweds and their baby daughter. You guys are going to be introduced to something called a frame story, otherwise known as a story within a story in this text, and we'll learn about the nuts and bolts of that in a later lesson. Make sure that you are focused on the essential question this week: what do stories reveal about the human condition? And the guiding question for this text: what impact can age have on relationships? That should be a really good question and start some robust discussion. I hope you're looking forward to it. Today, we're going to engage in a first read. You're going to complete annotations, which I will model later, and then eventually you're going to write a summary. After the summary, you will engage in the closing activity to wrap up your learning. But first and foremost, always remember that when you complete the lesson activities, that you are supposed to share your learning with a family member, friend, or caregiver, that you're supposed to complete the weekly fluency activity using a page from the text, and do an additional 20 minutes of reading of a text of your choice. But you also know that there is a routine that we engage in every day as well, and that is our riddle of the day. So as usual, I'm going to give you some time to hopefully gather some others around and get your brains nice and ready for today's riddle. Here we go. Some months have 30 days, and some months have 31 days. How many have 28? Again, some months have 30 days, and some months have 31 days. How many have 28? I'm going to give you a minute to talk about this, to think about this, to avoid Googling, as always. Pause if you want additional time and you want to engage in some debate about what you think the answer is. And here comes the spoiler. All of them have 28 days, right? That's a tricky one, but a good one again to share. Now that we've got our brains nice and warm up, it's time for our resources and materials. Let's make sure we have everything we need in front of us. You need the text, Everything Stuck to Him. You need your learning packet. Turn to week 4, lesson 15, along with a note catcher. A pen or pencil and a smartphone is optional, as always, if you'd like to access the text digitally. A little bit of background about this text that we're reading today. Again, written by Raymond Carter. The setting is in Milan, Italy, around Christmas time. So we don't have a specific date by way of year, but we do know it happens around Christmas, and we at least know that it's in the city of Milan. Again, another brief reminder, the essential question for this unit that we also will be focusing on with this text: what do stories reveal about the human condition? And the follow-up guiding question: what impact can age have on a relationship? Our learning targets for the lesson today: I can read and summarize the background and plot of Everything Stuck to Him, and I can record my ideas and questions about the characters and events as I read through the story. Remember our protocol. We always engage in a routine every day of reading, thinking, talking, writing, and then a closing activity that allows us to wrap up our learning. And today is going to be no different. You are going to read Everything Stuck to Him, and while you're reading, you're going to use the guidelines in the think box to help you do your annotations. I'm going to model that for you a little bit later so you know exactly what to do, but by now you should be in a pretty good rhythm of how to do that. You're also going to talk with a family member, caregiver, or friend about who you were in middle school. That should be a really good discussion. So again, this idea of how things change when we age. So you guys are in high school right now, you're 11th graders. I want you to reminisce about what you were like when you were a middle schooler and engage in a conversation with a family member, friend, or caregiver who knew you at the time and really could give you another perspective of how they think you've changed since then. So also consider, in addition to how have you changed, think about how does getting older impact your perspective on life? Do you think differently about things than you did when you were in middle school? Has your behavior changed? Any of those things, I think, will be a really good conversation and help you get prepared for some of the issues that arise in this particular text. Make sure you record some of those answers in your note catcher as well. The next thing you're going to do when you're done with your reading, thinking, and talking is you're going to complete a summary using some guidelines later that I will also walk you through. And then finally, in your closing activity, you're going to reflect on the idea. How does the story Everything Stuck to Him reflect the human condition? You guys have wrestled with that particular question as it relates to other texts. You're going to do the same with this one, just a little bit earlier in the process. Make sure you write your response in the Lesson 15 note catcher, and then make sure that you support your point of view with examples from the text. Now that we have an overview of the lesson, let's move on to our quick model for our first read. We're going to look at the first paragraph of the text, and then I'm going to model for you my thinking as I'm doing my annotations for the first read. Let's take a look. She's in Milan for Christmas and wants to know what it was like when she was a kid. Tell me, she says. Tell me what it was like when I was a kid. She sips Strega, waits, eyes him closely. She is a cool, slim, attractive girl, a survivor from top to bottom. That was a long time ago. That was 20 years ago, he says. You can remember, she says. Go on. What do you want to hear, he says. What else can I tell you? I could tell you about something that happened when you were a baby. It involves you, he says, but only in a minor way. Remember, we are underlining the background and setting. We're going to box unfamiliar vocabulary and phrases, and we're going to be writing our first impressions and our thoughts, feelings, and any questions that come up as we read. First line of this particular paragraph gives us the background that we've already kind of talked through. Right? So we know that the character is in Milan for Christmas, and specifically she's asking a question about what it was like when she was a kid. So that is the context of the conversation that we've kind of stumbled into in this story. Strega, so we know that she's having a drink here, and if you'll notice at the bottom of your screen and in your text, that particular term has a definition for you, and you see here that's an Italian urban liquor. And so again, reinforcing this idea that they are in Italy. Another term, survivor from the top to bottom. Survivor from the top to the bottom. A couple of things about that. You may have also heard the phrase before, through and through. She's a survivor through and through. She's a survivor from top to bottom. What that just means is, genuinely speaking, she is a survivor, no matter what. The question that comes up for me, though, as I'm reading that is, what has she survived exactly? Why isn't her name mentioned? Because she is used a lot, the pronoun she. No characters' names, but some observations being made by the other person she's speaking with. And because they're not using names and terms related to what their relationship is, it almost feels as though they're strangers, right? So there isn't a sense of closeness in the language being used here, at least in the first few lines. And so early on, I'm wondering, who is she speaking to? I know that this person has known her since she was a kid. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked the question. But again, the lack of use of names makes me feel like there's some distance between these two people having a conversation. As we move on, though, and the person she's speaking to, a gentleman, mentions that he has a story about when she was a baby, it makes me think that in addition to him knowing her since she was a baby, it's quite possible that this may be her father. And maybe I'll find out for sure as we read a little bit further. So those are my annotations so far, as I'm trying to make sense of where we are, who's speaking, and what's the nature of their relationship. And those are some things that you should have in mind as well as you're doing your first read and making annotations. Again, it is your turn now to finish the first read of the text. And as you read, make sure you're underlining those words or phrases and sentences that describe the setting and give background information about what is currently happening. Make sure any unfamiliar words or phrases that come up that you box so that you can come back to those. And if they're not defined in the margins, that you do a little bit of research to figure out what those mean so that you can understand what's happening. And then write down your initial impressions, because as you've learned by now that those initial impressions will serve you later as you try to analyze the text. And then make sure that you're having that conversation with your family member, friend, or caregiver, and talking about who you were as a middle school student and who you are now, and making those comparisons. And all will make sense as you get further into the text. So I'm going to pause right now and give you an opportunity to pause the video so that you can take time to finish your read, think, and talk for today. And then when you come back, we will tackle the write section for today, your summary. I'll unpack that for you, and your closing activity. So go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope that you were able to successfully complete those 3 activities and that you enjoyed your first read of the story. Now, because you've done the first read, there may be a little bit of wondering about what was that all about. Don't worry, we're going to unpack that. You may have some strong feelings. You may not know how to feel about it yet, but every activity that we engage in from this point forward will help bring the overall meaning and theme into view, and hopefully help you form some very distinct perspectives on this particular text. But your first task is to make sure that you've got the plot all in order and that you know what's happened. Remember, we're dealing with a framed story here, a story within a story. So you're managing 2 plots at once. So summarizing and taking a moment up front to do that and make sure that you have all the events and characters in line is really, again, going to serve you later. As you've done before with other summaries, you are going to follow the acronym SWBST. Somebody wanted, but so then. So the somebody refers to who is the story about. So who are your characters, your main characters in the story? Wanted, what do the main characters want, or what does the main character want? But what is the problem? What challenge do the main characters or the main character face? So how is the problem resolved? And then finally, then, how does the story end? So as you're writing your summary, make sure that you attend to each one of the letters in that acronym and that you're responding to those questions to ensure that you have a full and complete summary. Keep in mind that you are not including your opinion in this summary at all. Summaries just present the plot of the story and should not include your opinion. So keep that in mind and make sure that you have a good, effective summary. The next thing you're going to do once that summary is complete is your closing activity. Again, you are going to answer the question, how does the story Everything Stuck to Him reflect the human condition? What specific aspects of the human condition does it reflect? And make sure that you include examples from the text. Now, I know that we've talked about the human condition several times so far in our time together, but just to review, remember, the human condition refers to actions, experiences, thoughts, and feelings that are common for humans to have, right? That we share. So specifically speaking, what are some aspects of the story that reflect those common themes? Be specific and make sure you present evidence from the text to support your point of view. And when you get done, I encourage you to share that summary and your learning with a family member, friend, or caregiver. If at any point you get stuck, you need help, you can always stop, pause the video, rewind, and replay as many times as necessary. Or you can reach out to a teacher using their email address for some additional specific support. And do not forget that when you are done with all of this and you are successful and victorious, as I know you will be, that you share your learning with a family member, friend, or caregiver, that you complete the weekly fluency activity using a page from the text, and that you do at least 20 minutes of additional reading of a text of your choice for today. All right, so we've come to the end of another lesson. I know that you are more than prepared to do this writing activity and complete that summary well, and that you are going to tackle that question related to the essential question with ease. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great one.